Hello and welcome back to Belmont Bunch. Today we are back. We are going to gaslight you into thinking that we have been making videos and the algorithm has just been burying us. It has not been life changes and things going on. I take no responsibility. James, how are you doing?
I take full responsibility as the producer of Belmont Bunch. This is my fault, so sorry, boss. I want to throw in a joke in there about that guy that had that commercial on MSG, where like he wore the Islander sneakers and he had his man cave. And that's my favorite guy. That's going to be us in the future. That's going to be what Belmont Bunch is in the future.
Let me tell you, it was almost the Isles guys until there was Isle Guy Erasure. Erasure by the New York Islanders.
Which was like them cutting all ties with the Isles guys, pretending like the whole thing never happened.
Yeah. Well, I won't divulge too much, but I did think it was funny. This is not really connected to that, but a few of the Isles guys who you can follow on Instagram, we went to Nashville in November, saw the Islanders play in Nashville, which was a really fun experience. I haven't seen them on the road too much. I've seen them a few times. Did see a couple of road playoff games against Washington in 2015. But fun experience. Nashville was a lot of fun. I got to turn into a woo girl for the night. But the Isles guys thing I was going to say is at the end of the broadcast, they had a photo of us, a short, they're doing like the sign off and they're showing clips of the game and then they're showing the crowd and they showed the Isles guys flag, but only the top part is showing and the guys part is blocked out by the MSG like legal stuff. And so we were like, oh, okay, so you're just taking it. It's just Isles. You're pretending we're not the guys either.
That's true.
Yeah. But no, that was so much fun. It's a shame.
Wait, were you actually on? Were you in that shot?
Yeah, and actually we were.
Oh shit! We should see if we can find it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the intro shot, but like we were out and about before the game on Broadway there, and they saw us all wearing Islander jerseys, the MSG crew, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to like just walk towards the camera real quick and start like yelling and going woo?" And so we did that with like a bunch of people we had never met, but also were Islander fans, and one of them was like a kid wearing a Franz Nielsen jersey. I was like, that's my favorite guy. And he was like, who are you?
So like, I'm Belmont Bunch. Who are you?
Who do you me?
That's Mr. Bunch to you.
That's Mr. Bunch, baby.
Anyway, that's awesome, dude. I didn't know that you were actually on MSG.
Yeah.
Look at all these things we totally, could have been covering this whole time, which we actually did cover now that I remember. Anyway, so let's talk about how the Islanders have been doing.
I don't want to talk about the Islanders. Can we talk about something else?
This past half season.
Oh, okay.
All right, because we are on game 42. We're recording this on January the 11th. So the Islanders have played 42 games. So we're just past the halfway mark of the season. We're going to talk about the team, then individual players, and then we're going to talk about possible playoff hopes. And finally, we're going to end with a little classic bit, hot or not, hot and not, who's hot, who is not, in terms of players, and looks count a little bit, but mostly how well they've been playing.
And we're going to do around the league in 1 second. I'm just going to scream.
And if you play it back super slow, it actually
you can hear each team. Number 13, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That would kind of be a fun challenge, an edit to do. Yeah. Like you actually do around the league in 6 seconds, then we edit it into 1 second, and then, people can slow it down on their own time.
Yeah, it'll be like the Satanic Panic again.
What is that? Like when people would say play song, but
play a song backward.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Oh my God. Maybe if you play this episode backwards,
you'll find the videos that we lost.
Yeah, it's all the videos that we recorded in sequence, but backwards. But just the audio.
This. There's a script to this. There's lore here.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so let's go over how the Islanders have been doing as a team. Yes. In their new full season at UBS. Tom, take it from here.
Sure. So I was just to get kind of a gauge on what other people are thinking. I went to ESPN. I went to their power rankings. I know, don't yell at me. I know ESPN kind of has terrible hockey coverage. But their ranking of the Islanders is kind of right about where I would have them, and it kind of fits the narrative that I have had so far this year, which is that they're just kind of all right. ESPN has them 17th out of 32, so basically league average. Has also the preseason over under for points that they were expected to have from Caesar Sportsbook, which had us at 90.5 points, and our current point pace is 94. So we're slightly ahead of where people thought we might be, or the betting people.
Is there like a plus minus on that on the Caesar Sportsbook thing?
I don't see it here. I just have the ESPN tab open.
Because I would say that's probably within the margin of error. 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, like in the offseason, Lou kind of bet on the roster just being better, and there were things that I don't think you can fully blame us missing the playoffs for, like the starting the year off on the road so much. And
you're talking about last year.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, this year, last year to this year, like things definitely like weren't ideal last year, but I still think that it should have seen us be a little bit more aggressive in the offseason. Didn't happen. Cap space was, part of that. We still have a few guys that we're probably overpaying for, and it's hindering our ability to sign other players. But anyway, for how the teams look so far, they're actually scoring way better than last year. They're like towards the middle of the pack in NHL scoring, a little bit below the middle. They're at 3.10 goals for per game. Last year we were in the twos, and like the mid twos. So that's a pretty good improvement scoring wise. And we're tied with Carolina in goals for per game. So like that's a team that we're competing with, even though like they're ahead of us fairly significantly, but like that's a team that you're gonna have to beat to like prove that you're good. And we're comparable to them scoring wise. And honestly, we're only 4 goals behind them in goals against. We're really similar to Carolina. Now that I'm looking at the stats, we have the same exact goals for per game.
So it's just complete randomness that they're, 10 points ahead of us.
Point wise, like we suck at the shootout. That's not helping. So, whenever we go to
just
the shootout,
lost in the shootout to Dallas the night before we recorded this.
Yeah. Our power play is only a point, like less than a point behind Carolina's. That I didn't even plan to talk about this. Now I just like was looking at the Islanders stats, and they're really similar to Carolina's. From like the raw, goals for, goals against, power play. So that's pretty surprising. That we're that comparable to a team that's considered, really good and 10 points ahead of us. All right, so maybe that'll make me relax a little bit, because before looking at this, my initial reaction so far has been that while the offense is better and the defense really hasn't dropped off, quickly going to pull up the goals against. And we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 6th in the league in goals against average. So, we're getting the goaltending, and we'll get into like the individual players soon. We're absolutely getting the goaltending. We survived Varlamov being hurt by just starting Sorokin, I think, every game. It's a strange scenario where I think if you had showed me all these numbers before the season, and asked what I think, I would have thought we'd be like fantastic. If our numbers are comparable to Carolina, if we were able to score, what did we talk about last year? All we have to do is figure out how to score, because we can defend, and we're still defending. I mean, we're still not giving up a ton of goals.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I do think the defense looks somewhat better, because just not having Chara out there.
I should have.
Yeah. Like having guys that could skate. I mean, Salo, unfortunately, I had hopes for Salo to be a little bit better. But But you know what? Sebastian Aho has been pretty good, and I got to give him credit. He's a guy that we've been tough on, and I like seeing a guy be come out of that and be really good, because it's really tough. The Tom and James media machine, really tough to get out of that. You get really down on yourself.
Well, I think the easiest way to get out of it is just have us forget, and then or just actually stop taking bad penalties. Looking at you, Scott Mayfield, things like that. Like, just stop doing the one thing that's easy to rag on.
The cat just opened the door.
Oh wow.
Eli, do you want to be in the video real quick? Oh, he meowed.
Oh, that's a yes.
That? Come here. No, don't do yoga on my yoga mat. I can't really move.
You can do it. You can do it.
Eli, come here. Eli, come here. Please don't bite me. Okay, leave. All right, he left.
All right, for our audio podcast listeners, a cat just rejected Tom and did not appear on camera at all. Okay, he actually went to pick up the cat. Wow, very adorable, very cute. All right, yep. Eli after Eli Manning, I presume. Tom is now blocking the door with a pillow. And all right, we're back.
The door doesn't lock, and he can just break it open whenever he feels like, even if it's closed.
Pretty cool.
That was a fun detour.
Eli after Eli Manning?
I have no idea. Not my cat. My roommate's cat.
Oh, okay. I thought you just meant like a stray. Started living with you one day.
I should have just left it at not my cat. That would have been mysterious.
Ooh. Anyway, so overall, we'll get into the individual players. Overall, the team as a whole, any more things you want to address before giving them an overall report card?
The cat just tried to break in and he got stopped by the blockade. Overall report card, that's a good question. It's got to be between a B and a C, right?
Okay.
Like, I feel like, I don't like to say like there's an objective fact to like this thing that is subjective, but like, I mean, you can't say they've been incredible and you can't say they've been terrible. Like, they're fine. ESPN has them at 17th out of 32. That's pretty fitting. They do have the potential to like get going. We've seen when they look good. They had a little bit of a stretch just before we got back on the saddle here on Belmont Bunch, and I got to go to the Florida game where we wore the reverse retros and tore Florida apart. And it was
like a 5-1 win, I believe, right?
Yeah, and Florida, like, look, they're not great this year, but it's changed since then. But going into that game, I was like, hey, this is a team that can just get off the mat whenever it feels like. And maybe not. Maybe they are struggling. But we beat Pittsburgh really thoroughly in that stretch. We had a stretch of like 4 games where we played 3 games where I was like, wow, that was impressive. We had one clunker in there. And then we went out west and we struggled. And then we came back. And I thought last night looked pretty good, just had no finish to our game, which is actually kind of an outlier this year. We've actually been scoring, like we talked about already. Like, we've been scoring this year. It hasn't been as, teeth grittingly annoying watching them try to score this year.
And it's been, I think, if memory serves me, cause more in the beginning of the season, but it's been reliant also on the defensemen to produce a lot of the scoring, which has been, I don't know if that's been a tactic. I would assume it is.
Yeah, definitely. They're pinching. They're definitely pinching. I think they trust, Chara, he wasn't fast enough to get back if he pinched. So you basically had to just tell Chara to sit on the blue line, which is not very helpful. And I got to give credit. I guess we'll talk about it in a second. I'll very quickly say Parker Wotherspoon, a guy that came up and has, been like not noticeable. But in a, if you're a defenseman, that's not bad. If I'm not noticing you making mistakes and stuff like that, he got a point in his hometown game against Vancouver. So yeah, props to the Islanders have had a bunch of guys hurt and a bunch of guys come up and fill in and like the injuries are not the reason that the team looks kind of mediocre. Like they've survived the injuries. There's a few guys that just like, I don't know, just haven't been good enough. And And also, like, I think we acknowledge, even though the scoring is better this year, that they still probably need like one more piece. Bo Horvat, please. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're 22-7-3. Um, and they have the potential to be better. All right, to settle on a grade, I'm gonna give them a B minus.
Okay, I was gonna say C plus or B minus.
Yeah, they definitely have the potential to get going. We've seen what they can look like. Um, they don't have as visible an identity as the Trots team for sure.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
Like they're not. I guess you know what though. Like last year's Trots team really relied on goaltending, kind of like this team. But like
I would contend with that slightly, but I'll let you finish.
Sure. Yeah. Our team save percentage this year is 922, which is just elite. That's fantastic. Yeah, for me, it's honestly it's not the defensemen. It's like the forwards playing defense have not always been great. I will say, I think Matthew Barzal is like getting better defensively. I've seen him like hustling and back checking this year. It's weird. There's not really something I can 100% point to and be like, because this team is just like good, not great, has the potential to be better, and it has shown it in bursts. Has also looked extremely disinterested in bursts. Really, like if this were the NFL, they'd be like an 8. Well, when there were 16 games, an 8-8 team. You know, a 500 team. They're very difficult to figure out night to night.
Well, so the thing I would contend with I completely agree, much more of an identity team, or had much more of an identity with Barry Trotz. And I wonder how much of that identity is left over and in the coaching style for Lane Lambert, you know, where if he's coaching the same, like a similar system to Barry, with just modifications, mostly being, you know, like defensemen pinching more. But I also worry that it's forwards playing less defense and, you know, to aim for more scoring. But I wonder how much of that is the forwards that, you know, we're obviously most of the forwards still have been coached under Barry Trotz. How much of that defensive game that they're playing is just left over from the previous coaching, the game style, like just being coached with Barry Trotz for 3 years. So I worry that like if Lane Lambert were to go to a completely new team, that whatever his coaching style would shine through even more. And so I think, you know, assuming he stays with the Islanders for another couple of years at least, right? And I have nothing against Lane Lambert. I think I really am hopeful he's gonna be a great coach. But I wonder how much of his coaching style it really is versus how much is left over from Barry. And I don't know. I don't know if that's like, I wouldn't be thinking that if he wasn't the assistant coach before he was now the head coach. And he's also his first team. He was the head coach. He's been the head coach. Yes. Of, so
I would agree definitely that the defenseman pinching is I guess the main difference that I've noticed. There are probably smarter fans than I that have noticed more, but that's been like my number one.
We have to come from a point of authority. You, Tom, are the smartest fan. Everybody should know that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think the defenseman pinching has helped the offense. Noah Dobson had a really good start to year, has kind of cooled off, which coincides with the fact that right now the real thing that they're struggling with is the power play. It was like 2 for its last 38. I think it got one last night though. I think the Anders Lee goal was on the power play. Yeah, it was because I have Noah Dobson in fantasy and he got a power play point.
Oh, nice.
That was great, by the way. I not to get bogged down in individual play from last night, but great slap pass from Brock Nelson. I guess actually to like extrapolate that out to the larger point of the power play. It started off pretty well. I think it got to one-dimensional. It was just basically let Noah Dobson take a shot from the point.
He's not Victor Hedman, so
yeah, and no, he's good. He's really good. I love Noah Dobson. The reverse retro I got is Noah Dobson. Like I'm committed to this tall, lanky man who's younger than me. And he's 4th on the team in points as a defenseman. very impressive. And the Islanders needed that. And he's only a -2, so it hasn't really, it hasn't taken too big of a toll on his defense. Although his defense could still be better, but we need a defenseman that can step up and add points, and he has. Should we transition into the individual
yes,
players?
I was about to say that. So let's do. Are you okay with going through them in terms of points?
Yeah. I've got the stats and the points up in front of me.
Cool. So starting with Mark Barzal, how can he has 41 points? Let's see, 11 goals and 30
point
assists
per game.
Yeah.
I mean,
what game did he miss?
He missed the last. I think it was the game before Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Because Atu Ratu played.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay.
Barzal has looked really good. I think our hopes of the one, like for the people that like Barry Trotz a lot and really didn't want to see him go, like me. The one thing that I was kind of banking on, I was like, well, you know what? Matt Barzal should get to break out offensively because, he won't really be penalized for mistakes. And I actually think he's turned in a decent defensive first half of the season, and offensively it's been great. He's he hasn't been point a game since like his rookie year, and that was the year before Trotz came in. So the years that Trotz was here, very more modest point totals. He's playing a lot more free, and we're getting to see him with a lot of different line mates. And I think they've actually started to find something having Casey Cizikas play on his wing, which is, hey, credit to Lane, like jumbling the lines. I would not have guessed that you could, do that and mix it up like that, but that worked for a little bit. They're just trying to move things around as much. If it gets stale, they move it back. Like Hudson Fashing has had time with Mark Barzal. But yeah, Barzal, I think you'd have to give him probably like an A- to like a B+. I don't think we're gonna do a grade for every player, but like,
obviously he's the, one of the top players. So I think that's fair. I agree. It's been a lot more fun to watch him this season than in the past. So, okay. So
and he's a +8 in his +-, so he's been on for more goals.
Interesting. Notable +- critic Tom Belmont Bunch referencing the +-,
Well,
score.
no, I can reference it when I want to, and I can
when it's relevant to your criticism.
Yes.
Okay. So all right, going down to my favorite player, Brick Nelson.
Brick Nelson.
All-star. Top scorer on the team.
Brock
2
All-star.
All-star. Oh, yes. Yeah. Second in points. He's been the top in points for a couple of years, for throughout the season. So, not surprised at all. But yeah. So, how do you rate Brick's performance? You're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted.
You don't have to mute yourself whenever you take a drink of water. It's totally cool.
I'm trying to be professional.
No. Don't worry about it.
No, I've been very happy with Brock Nelson's first half. Almost a point a game. I haven't, for as excited as we were for Barzal in this new system with Brock Nelson, it was interesting because Barry Trotz really helped make Brock Nelson. I don't want to not give Brock his own credit.
Brock didn't even exist until Barry Trotz coached, actually.
But Brock has carried over, kind of like you said, like Trotz is gone, but not totally. He was here for 3 years. There's an impression left on the players.
Especially when they went from, from a team that wasn't making the playoffs to a team that went to the conference finals, in 2 years, but under his coaching. So, I don't think players, even if they probably didn't even if he wasn't that great of a coach, any coach transition, I guess, leaves I haven't thought about that before. It leaves, an impression. So,
yeah, I think some coaches would probably leave less. I think you like Barry, one of the best coaches ever. So you're going to see carryover, and that's a good thing. I didn't want all the Barry system to go away. And I think Brock has been one of the standouts, continuing, to to, do what Trotz got out of him. And I've been very happy with him. And I'm really excited for him to be an all-star this year. So yeah, really happy for Brock.
All right. Going on to the captain, Lee, not Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Anders, 15 and 15 for goals and assists. He's got 30 points. It's been a little bit streaky, but that's like usually what he does. Scored a power play goal last night in his usual office. Yeah, he's been fine. He's not, you just know one of his assets is not like being one of the better skaters on this team. Like he does not burn up the ice.
Right. But it's so interesting seeing like he's a third, has third most points on the team. And like, it just reminds you so much how much it hurt not having him last year. And like that's probably why we didn't end up making, we didn't make the playoffs last year, right?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, not having one of your staple players. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, I feel like I probably don't give him enough credit. Like, I always go to the fact that he doesn't skate great. But, he manages to be third on the team and on a team that like has actually not been, a dead end offensively this year. So, he's doing something right. He's scoring. Wow. I'm just effusive praise for my captain. I feel bad. Like I maybe it's not the prettiest game, but he gets it done. And I guess you need guys like that.
I guess that's, it also kind of goes to like the point that a lot of people are, Islanders. I mean, this is again under Barry Trotz. Islanders play boring hockey and stuff, and that it's I guess that mindset of like, it's not pretty, but yeah, it gets done. But anyway.
And this year, like when they play boring hockey, it's just when they're terrible. It's not like their
true.
MO. They just play boring when they're bad.
Which is actually probably good.
Yeah, they don't actually when they win exciting, like in exciting fashion now. All
right. No Dobson. Tom's favorite new player.
Great start to the year. It cooled off as the power play, also cooled off. But fun to see him. Would like to see maybe him get voted in as one of the 3 extra all-star spots. But at the same time, people were bringing up like Rick DiPietro getting hurt at the All-Star game, and like maybe we don't want too many Islanders at the All-Star game. But they play the game so like it's not even hockey. Like it's so, I mean, like it is hockey. It's pond hockey. They're not hitting. They're not. So I don't know. But Noah Dobson has continued to grow. He's basically taken over all the offense from what Ryan Pulock used to do.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having him for a long time, and I got his jersey, so it's a seal of approval.
Will you be more hurt if he is no longer the team because of a trade or something?
Absolutely.
Because you already bought the jersey, or because you want him on the team?
I both. I mean, like I really want him on the team.
I'm kidding. I know.
But like, I'd also be really annoyed because I'm very picky with who I put on the back of the jerseys.
No, I completely agree. All right. JG Pajot.
Yeah, nice little, bounce back recently. He's added depth scoring. He had a lot of chances last night. He should have scored a couple times against Dallas. But I won't let my recency bias there hurt him. I think he's been pretty good. Shooting percentage is 13%. That's pretty solid. He's got some shorthanded points. He's played on the power play. He's doing a little bit of everything, and they needed that because he's making $5 million to be a third line center, but an Islanders third line center plays a lot. Like it's not like every team's third line center.
Yeah, very deep.
So he gets a lot of special teams play. I think he's been pretty good. He's good in the faceoff dot. Just a good player. Fits really fits the Islander mold.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I mean he was so quick to sign for the team when he was traded. What was that, back in 2020?
Yeah,
it was the beginning of 2020.
I very much would have he was in the final running for who I was going to get on that jersey.
Oh wow.
I mean, I mean I have a Cizikas jersey, and I feel like Pajot is just Cizikas with more offense.
Yeah, that I think I completely agree with that.
They're
He's
both like quick,
very
short
feisty.
kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So personally, a little surprised to see Parise this high on the list, but Zach Parise, what do you think?
Yeah, he's been awesome. Like,
yeah,
this kind of makes up for the fact that last year in the first half, he played so well and was not rewarded with goals until like, way into the season. He absolutely deserves, to be where he is, which is like playing really well still at the NHL level. It couldn't have been easy a few years ago getting bought out of a contract by the Minnesota Wild. But he's like, I don't know, 38, 39 now.
I think 39, yeah.
19 points in 42 games. He plays like a decent amount every game. He's got a good shooting percentage. I love Zach Parise. He's been, he's playing for league minimum. Like, you can't ask much more from like that, just from like your bang for your buck. Like, it's just fantastic. And another team is paying him money. So Zach Parise is still living large financially, because you're still going to get the buyout money and you get to still play and you're still producing. He's done pretty well for himself this year.
All right. Everybody's favorite dad, Josh Bailey. I feel like I'm like introing like America's Funniest Home Videos, but like making terribly like unfunny jokes. Anyway,
I think we'll probably start to
pick it up a bit.
We'll probably start to like skip around soon, but like Josh Bailey, he's got 17 points, and that's kind of shocking to me because last year I think I talked about how he was starting to look like afraid to play hockey, and I think I've seen that again this year. And and like last year he like still would very occasionally like pull out like a sick move or a sick pass. He's known, all of his teammates have always said, "Oh my God, this guy's so smart. He's one of the best, like one of the higher hockey IQ guys that they've ever known." And like good, because like his ability is really diminished. And so like it's a good thing that
I'm glad they can compliment him on something.
I mean, like he's one of the things holding the team back, and it's tough because like I don't hate the guy. But just like, I don't know, he's making too much money for his production. And there's another guy we're going to talk about soon that I'm also
is it the next guy
not enamored with. Yeah.
Is it Anthony Beauvillier?
Yeah, I'm just like,
who's the next guy on the list. Let's talk about how Bo has been slowly every year losing everybody's expectation, or not living up to everybody's expectations.
So like Jimmy VC is making like less than $1 million for the Rangers and has like the same exact numbers as Bo, who's making over $4 million. We talked about bang for buck with Parise, and it's basically being made up by Bo negatively. I just look, it's frustrating because it's not like he's a good forechecker when he's engaged. He scores when he's hot, but like it's getting fewer and far between when he gets hot. Like, and I just really think at this point, there are a few guys, a lot of the guys so far, we've talked very positively about a lot of the guys so far, and that's because we're going in points order. So those guys are producing. But like, I think we're at the point with Bo. I think he's almost only here because he's friends with Barzal.
Damn, that is about the harshest criticism I can imagine.
But he's not a bad hockey player. I think he needs I think he needs.
Hey pal, he's better than you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he needs like a different location. I think he needs a fresh start somewhere. He should have been one of the guys that would break out in a system where the team is scoring more and like being more offensive, and he hasn't. I mean, I guess like what, he's like 16 points in 35 games. I'm terrible at math, so I don't know what that like produces out to for the year, but so we're at the halfway point. So I don't know,
so 32,
32 points. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
Like he's missed 3 games. He's been a healthy scratch. Honestly, like I don't want to like go full like grit over like talent, but like I much rather watch Hudson Fasching, play than Beauvillier at the moment.
How old is he?
Who, Beauvillier?
No, Hudson.
I'm actually not sure.
He's
They're
young, right?
not that far apart in age. They're
He's
both young.
27. Oh, okay. I thought he was younger.
So he's probably like a year or two older than Bo. Because I think Bo was
Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought he was a younger guy.
Yeah, he was
Beauvillier
around
is
in the
25.
minors. Yeah. Flashing was like in the Arizona minor league system, and just ended up on a minor league deal here. And hey, good credit to him. He's come up and he's looked very good. He skates pretty well. He's big, so like he's not easy to move off the puck. Probably just telling that I started talking about Hudson Fashing instead of Bo. Like, I don't know.
All right, yeah. He's played 15 games. Hudson has played 15 games and has 4 points.
Yeah, so
but I see what you mean.
I'm probably
like,
being too complimentary to Hudson Fashing, even though he's been. But it's probably an expectations thing. I mean, like one of them was an AHLer to start the year and came up and played competent NHL minutes, and the other one is an NHLer who we expected to score more and hasn't. So expectations play a large role, and we need Bo to get hot again, and I think. I mean, if we want to trade for Bo Horvat, maybe Bo is a guy that goes back. I think we would win that trade, but we would include probably like a picker or prospect. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that Bo, he's a third liner, I think, on a good team.
Well, okay. Harsh criticism, but some needed criticism. So, Bo, when you listen to this, wake up, man. Okay, so let's go through a little bit faster. I know Wahlstrom, the new crowd fave, is next, so we might talk a little bit about him, but let's try and pick up the pace here. So Wahlstrom, 16 points, 35 games played, so less than Beauvillier.
He's been hurt. Goals. He's on IR. Sucks that he got hurt. Had been like pretty good, not great.
Do we know what his ice time was this year on average? Was it around 20 minutes per game?
No, 12.
It was still low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So,
because we talked about that with frequent Belmont Bunch guest and commentator Sterling.
Yes.
Who, because he said all last season, Bo's average ice time was like 12, 13 minutes. So yeah, it hasn't gone up this year, which we were expecting it to, because the same thing happened with Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson's first year playing, they kept his ice time down. He wasn't playing every game, and so I don't know.
Yeah, and
I don't know why that hasn't happened with Bo.
You meant Wahlstrom, right?
No. Wait, did I say Bo? Sorry, Han. Dobson, his first year playing, he only averaged 12, 13 minutes per game. Wasn't in every game. His next year, he was playing 20 minutes per game at least.
Yeah.
And now Wahlstrom, I think I said though, and it sounded like Bo.
Okay, gotcha.
Wahlstrom, Wahlstrom in his second year has not been on the ice more than he was his previous year. So very I don't know why.
Still waiting for the breakout. He got to play with Barzy for a bit, and that was working for a little bit, and then he got hurt. So it sucks that it feels like his momentum got kind of stopped a little bit. He's got the same amount of points as Bo. But either if one of those guys gets going, you feel a lot better probably about the forwards. But either way, even if one of them gets going, I still think you got to add a goal scoring forward at the deadline, because even though we're happy that this team's towards the middle of the pack in offense, considering where it was previously, if this team can continue to be good defensively as it has and have the goaltending it has, and not just be average in goal. It's funny because now we're creeping up the expect. Last year we were just begging for middle of the road, and now it's like, hey, if we could just get to like a little bit past the top half. But hey, that's if the team can score a little bit more. Last night was frustrating. Last night wasn't wholly representative of the year, though. We haven't had as many 1-1 games this year.
That's true. Okay, so moving on to Brian Pollock, and we'll just let's go down the list a little bit, because now we're going to obviously defenseman more.
So maybe I'll just I'm going to pull the defensemen together the rest of the way. Pellick has been hurt, and I got to give credit. We do not look like as horrible as I thought we could without Pellick. credit to Aho, credit to Wotherspoon coming up and playing minutes and not looking bad. They've like helped. I don't think it's been talked about enough that they've helped stabilize the season when we've lost our best defenseman. And the Islanders have not like wholly fallen off from that. So a lot of credit honestly goes to Bridgeport coach Brent Thompson, who, you know, gets a lot of flack deservedly because the Islanders have had trouble developing players. But he's had some gems, and this year he has to get credit for having guys that look like they're ready to come up and play in the NHL. Getting off of the defenseman for a quick second, Simon Holmstrom was starting to get his game really going right before he got hurt. Unfortunately, that seems to be happening a lot this year. Guys are getting going and then get hurt. Atu Ratu looked really good. Just got sent down today, but that was more of a contractual thing. Make sure you don't lose an extra year of his contract. So he gets NHL minutes. He looks good. He scores 2 goals. And I missed one because I was in the bathroom at the Florida game. Actually, no, I was up saying hi to Sterling. So
shout out.
And sorry, Sterling, one of my former coworkers was talking, and I was trying to talk to Sterling, and he was like, "Hey, let me tell you a bunch of stories." I was like, "I'm trying to meet," and that's how I missed Atu Ratu's first goal.
Okay.
But
anyway,
yeah. So it wasn't Sterling's fault. I want to make that clear. It was the other guy's fault. But Brian Pullock, you know, like I said, Noah Dobson kind of took his offensive punch. Still 15 points from him. He plays 20 minutes a night. Like, I like to see Ryan Pullock score more than 2 goals because he used to, as a defenseman, kind of have like 10 to 15 goal potential with the shot he had. But I don't know, he just doesn't seem to like utilize it as much anymore. I guess he just got tired of missing the net. Shots fired. And
also, but also like hitting your own players in the head sometimes, and like, so it could just be like the other players might not like it too. They'd rather him make a pass.
The other players are like, "Hey, cut it out."
Yeah, exactly. Literally, one of the first games I remember watching years, and I shouldn't say one of the first, whatever. One of the first games back in like 2019 season or something like that, when I was really getting into watching games more frequently. Pollock sniped Nelson in the head, like broke his helmet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can understand people on your own team being like, "Hey, let's chill. Pass me the puck. Don't shoot the puck at me.
Maybe keep the puck low."
Yeah.
But Alexander Romanov, I guess we have to talk about him because he's a new addition and one of the only ones. And he's been pretty good. It was a little bit of an adventure to start the year, which is, to be expected. You have a new coach, a new system. You have a guy coming in for the first time with this team. And the Islanders are a team that's built off chemistry, and he had to build some chemistry up. And he's been fine, and the expectations are kind of low because, he's replacing Chara, and it was just like, all we need is to see a guy that can skate. We gave up a first rounder for him. I'm still, I guess it's a team that's in win now. I suppose like it was fine. It's not a move that I think we'll be like screaming about one way or the other, really. I don't even remember who was drafted with the pick that we traded away. I guess I'll have to keep an eye on that and see if this bites us. But Romanov's been fine. He's helped.
Notable number. Sorry, I'll let you say what?
Not just like eating minutes up.
Right. Yeah. Notable number of Michael Del Cole that he wears. So, interesting.
We miss you, Michael.
We miss you, Michael. Okay. Moving on.
I did that like he was dead. I don't know why I did that. I hope you're doing all right.
Pouring out for you, Michael. Okay. So actually, what happened to him? He was just a free agent?
Didn't offer him another contract.
So did he get picked up anywhere?
I don't know. I actually wouldn't have minded keeping him for Bridgeport. Whatever.
Anyway, so we talked about the defense. I guess we could probably just throw like looks like the third line, or sorry, the fourth line.
Fourth line has looked all right. They've contributed some offense. about 10 points each. Where's Clutter? Where's Clutter? Clutter's played a lot fewer games.
Oh, right.
Still on pace to be about where the other guys are.
Mm-hmm.
So fourth line's been fine. I guess now we can touch on like a few of the guys that have just like had a cup of coffee. Oh, Kiefer Bellows played one game and left.
Yep.
And that has not hurt us at all because he hasn't done anything with Philly.
I can't help but think that he will develop. He'll just continue to develop, and if we kept him, he would continue to develop. I don't know. I guess for some reason, I do feel like there's still something there. Like I know a lot of people had given up hope on him, and obviously you have too. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think the Flyers have too because he barely has even played for them. That's a weird. I guess like why not? But like, yeah, I guess why not? I was gonna say like they're terrible for Philly. So like I guess why not take a chance on a former first rounder and hope it works out. Has worked out for Seattle claimed Tolvanen off of waivers. Nashville for former first round pick. This guy had high expectations. Didn't do much in Nashville, and they just put him on waivers. He got scooped up. He's got 6 points in like 5 games for the Kraken. So I guess the Flyers were hoping that would be them, and it wasn't. So
all right. So anything else? Any other players you want to talk about before we get to the goaltending?
It's funny that Holmstrom looked pretty good and he only had 2 points in 15 games. But like, look, these guys are guys that need to play more AHL minutes. And I think it was very valuable for them to get NHL minutes. Aatu Räty getting 7 games and got 2 goals. Looked very, competent right out of the gate. So at least, and in Simon Holmstrom's case, he's had longer development time. At least good to see like, wow, these are guys that like, yeah, I think we'll see in the NHL soon. Maybe next year, if the Islanders move on from a couple guys like Bailey and Beauvillier, maybe we get to start seeing some of these young guys come up and, encouraged by some of the steps we've seen from them.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's go to the goaltending. And we'll just leave it at that. What do you think?
Yeah. So it's funny.
I think they've been okay.
Yeah, they've been very. I mean, Ilya, very unfortunate record wise. He's only 14-13-2, but he's got a 230 goals against.
I know.
925 save. He's looked great. Like, actually, it's funny. I don't think he's had to be as spectacular as last year, because the team is not like dreadful defensively. It's
really, that's interesting because I was I think the goals above expected at whatever, like you said that I think at the beginning of the podcast, whatever it was, I feel like that tends to, I don't know, I could be making this up. I think that tells you something about the defense. How many chances are you giving up, that your goaltender's bailing you out of?
Yeah. It's not perfect. It's not like vacuum seal defense like it was in the 2 cup,
the 2 conference
playoff
finals. Yeah.
But that is extremely difficult to sustain, especially in a league that seems like the scoring is starting to trickle back up across the league. Ilya's been great. And also, like, it hasn't been 1A, 1B. That's been a big difference. See, I wag my finger at you. That's been a big difference in coaching philosophy of just letting Ilya take the wheel, and it's worked out very well. I would not advise letting Jesus take the wheel, literally.
But
metaphorically,
I don't know.
Perhaps.
It has worked out well. I don't know. I guess I'd have to watch Semyon Varlamov more closely to really determine, because everybody seems to think he's fallen off. I mean, he still has a 913 save percentage, which I think is great.
I don't really think he's fallen off. I think he's been a very good backup.
I personally think I would be very happy if it was still 1A, 1B, where they were basically splitting the games pretty much evenly.
I guess that's the kind of thing we'll see how much it, like the
how sustainable Ilya playing these many games is.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have faith that he can stand up to the long haul, but I do think that you want to maybe have a little bit where, and it's tough because like we're in a playoff chase, and we're going to talk about it soon about the
We're gonna
context of
talk
where
about
we
that
are.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so is what I meant to say is because of that, you just have to start your best goalie because you really can't afford to like
That's fair. Yeah.
experiment too much. But at the same time, it's not like you're experimenting too much. The drop off from Elia to Varley is not like a chasm. It's not this huge
But the time to
cliff.
experiment would have been in the beginning of the season.
I think it hurt that Varley was hurt recently and he would
Right.
have gotten more games in there.
That's true.
I think that at the beginning of the year, I think you also have to keep in mind Lambert, like trying to put a stamp on this team. I'm not Barry Trotz. I want this to look different, and I want Ilya to be my guy. And it's worked. Like it hasn't, and that's not the reason that the team isn't currently in a playoff spot. In fact,
True,
I don't.
very true.
In fact, I don't really know why this team is like. I don't know. This team, like I said, there are some nights this team is incredible. There are some nights this team looks terrible. But the goaltending has been the constant. The goaltending really never looks bad. Like,
yeah,
you can count on one hand. I almost said you can count on one finger. You can count on one hand the amount of bad games I think we've seen out of our goalies this year.
I don't know why. That's very funny though. You can count on one finger.
You can count on one finger. There it is.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking of though? Like those little finger puppets you can get of a hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I was thinking of. Anyway,
I was thinking of Glove World.
Yes, from SpongeBob. Forgot about that. I knew there was a SpongeBob related thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so let's go on to the playoff potential, of this team. Will the Islanders, do they have a shot at making the potential? Do they have the potential to make the playoffs? They are currently one spot out of a wild card. They're
1 point.
1 point. Yeah. Wait, where's the yes, Pittsburgh is ahead of
Pittsburgh
them. 48
has 2
points.
games in hand. But
Okay,
Washington is 5 points ahead of us. We have a game in hand on them. So we're in the mix. There are a few teams behind us. Like there's going to be a real race this year, which is great because last year, do you remember how pitiful the race was last year? There was no playoff race. The Capitals were like 20 points ahead of like us.
Well, I remember towards the end of the season, we were like, well, if we win, there's a certain point where we're like, it is still possible.
It was, and it was ridiculous. Like,
we would have had to win like the last 10 games outright.
There was no playoff race last year. So it's great to see an actual race this year. Buffalo has broken out and looked pretty good. You always got to be wary with Buffalo because they've done that a few times in the last like 5-6 years, and like then they've had like incredibly terrible second halves. But I think this is more sustainable for Buffalo, which is not good for us because that's a team on our butts. They have 3 games in hand. If they were to win all of them, they'd be a point ahead of us, but you can't really count on that. Like they are a streaky team. They're similar to us, except probably more upside in the long term because they're younger.
Yes.
But maybe for this year, you'd say maybe we still have more upside just because we have better goaltending and we have more experience. And for Buffalo, it's not like make or break. The Islanders are more so, hey, we got a lot of guys locked up long term. Yep. We got to get some wins in the playoffs. Buffalo's got their time.
It's interesting because we've talked 2 years ago. We were talking about how the window of opportunity is here for the Islanders just 2 seasons ago, and it's like by making some piece, getting some piece players or role players or whatever here or there to keep that window open as long as possible. Now it's like, you're worrying, okay, maybe you don't go to a full rebuild, but you are looking at the guys in the farm system and like, okay, like how long can this be sustainable? Yeah. So I don't know. It's
actually made me feel better though, seeing Ratu and
I completely agree.
And Wotherspoon like come up and just I think it's pretty impressive to come up and look competent when you're as young as a couple of those guys are.
Yeah, especially when it's like like we've seen, you were just saying, like those first round picks that, as soon as they go from whatever, like the minor leagues to, or the like college, playing in college to playing in the NHL, it's, they just can't step their game up.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, look at Oliver Wahlstrom was like the 12th overall pick in his draft year, and he's really, it's been a fight to get, minutes. And so it's really, I think Aatu Ratu, like, hey, he could be something special. This is his first year playing in North America, and he played really well in Bridgeport. I thought played pretty well in the NHL. That is really impressive. The guy's like 20. That is like, that's a guy. That's a guy we're gonna have.
That's a person.
That is indeed. All right.
Okay.
But so
anyway,
talking about the other teams chasing us, I think it kind of stops at like Detroit. Ottawa has just been really disappointing. Seems like no matter what they do, whoever they bring in, every year they have like a big offseason move, and it's like, wow, this is the year Ottawa gets a go, and it's never the year it happens. Detroit looks all right. They've had a little bit troubled, I think, defensively.
They have a troubled past, yeah.
What? And so there are some teams behind us. I'm not super worried about anyone. I guess Florida, like I said, Florida's lurking. They hired a coach that it just doesn't seem like he's the right guy, but the team is still talented enough that it might be able to overcome that. They're 500. They're 5 points back of us with the same amount of games played. They're a team that could turn it on. They have the potential, but I don't know. They're a really fickle team, kind of like us, but like a little bit worse so far. Looking at the teams ahead of us that are in striking distance, we are not incredibly far back of the Rangers, not incredibly far back of Washington. I think like this team is probably going to max out at if the Devils fell off, like maybe they get I think it'd be huge if the Islanders got up to the second seed in our division. But I think the most realistic thing is we're in a wild card fight. We're maybe pushing to the third spot in the Metro, but Tampa has been good, not great this year. They're not that far ahead of us, Tampa. Actually, they have a few games in hand, so they might be further ahead of us soon.
Yeah.
Toronto, unfortunate for Toronto. My goodness, Toronto hasn't won a playoff series since 2004, but they're never bad. Recently they've been amazing and they just can't win a playoff series. And their reward right now is that they're looking at playing Tampa again in the playoffs, a team that just knocked them out. And they're being overshadowed by Boston, who is just in God mode. So, the East, there's no easy path in the East. Every team that's currently in a playoff spot, I think, is pretty good. There are teams that I think are more susceptible. Like, I do think the Devils might struggle in the postseason if they don't get the goaltending figured out. The Rangers have been weird. They've looked really bad at points, and I think coming off of a conference finals appearance, I think people thought the Rangers would be better, but they're still only 4 points out of first.
Feels familiar.
Yeah, I don't know. The East, very, very tight. I think, it's gonna be an absolute dogfight, which is tough because we're so bad in the shootout, and it is gonna come down to, really feels like it's gonna come down to a point or two. And if you just can't win a shootout, it piles up. And if you miss the playoffs because you can't win a shootout, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's a really tough way to miss the playoffs. So, it feels like a completely 50-50 shot for the Islanders if I had to grade their odds of making the playoffs. This is a team that I have a really tough time talking about because the identity is kind of muddled. It's but that's not to say they're bad because they've had games of it. They are difficult to figure out. Maybe maybe injuries. Maybe if Kyle Palmieri comes back and he's good all of a sudden, that would be helpful. Maybe Bo wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we trade for somebody. Maybe Wally gets healthy. There's a lot of maybes. There's a lot of things. I think if you're the GM, though, I think you got to go out and be assertive. This team is 50-50 to make the playoffs. You can improve their odds if you bring in Bo Horvat. If you bring it, basically just talk to Vancouver. Vancouver's really bad. They have a lot of good forwards. Talk to Vancouver, please. I think Bo would be the best fit. Maybe JT Miller, since it seems like they've screwed up his trade value. Last year, it was rumored the Islanders were like willing to give up a first for JT Miller, and eventually just ended up trading that first to get Romanov. And apparently that trade value for JT Miller's down to like a second or a third. Good job. Good job. You guys would do great in the crypto market, Vancouver. So yeah. I don't know. I don't want to just vamp because like I'm having a tough time talking about it because it's kind of just like it is what it is. We're 0-3 in the shootout. So that's 3 points lost and we're 1 point out.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, games in hand, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I'm gonna keep an eye on that shootout tally and see how many points it costs us. So we're at 3 right now. And
all right.
Who knows? I would hate for that to end up mattering a lot. Probably will. We still have a lot of games left against the teams ahead of us, though. So head to head, there's your chance.
That's the best time. Yeah.
Beat your divisional opponent. We don't play the Rangers again, so we don't have that weird scheduling by the NHL. Yeah. Let's have these two rivals that hate each other, and it's fun when they play. Let's have them not play after Christmas. What a freaking stupid schedule. My God. And they played 3 times this year. That's stupid. That you are dumb. Oh my God. Have I made my feelings clear?
Yes. So to finish off this catch-up podcast about the team, about the season, about how we feel, and about the surprising result that Tom is at a loss for words speaking about his favorite team. It's
a resounding meh.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do a hot or not for the players. All
okay.
Right. You can go first, or I can go first. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
You go first. I still don't know.
Okay. All right. So my hot or not, my hot player, I'm going back to basics. All right. Anders Lee. Okay. I'm happier with how he's performing than you are, but like it goes back to what I said before. He was just so missed last season. I'm happy to see him again. You know, like he's such a important and boring but important role. So he's the hot player, and he's good looking. And my not player is going to have to be an obvious choice. It's going to be Beauvillier. Okay. Maybe that's cheap going with 2 forwards, but
you do you, man.
Yeah,
it's
because
podcast.
It's like I think I told you this on Halloween. I opened up the door for a trick or treater. And it was a kid. I was wearing an Islanders hat or shirt or something. Mm-hmm. And the kid's like, "Oh, you're an Islanders fan?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Who's your favorite player?" I'm like, he caught me off guard. I'm like, "I don't know." And then he's like, "Oh, Beauvillier is my favorite player." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." You know, he's so much hope and cheer for the team.
How old was he?
Probably like 10.
You should have said, "You,
like, you idiot."
You get candy. Get the hell out of here.
And so, I mean, he's still like, I think it's just obvious that people, from this one anecdote of mine, I'm going to say that people still think there's something there, but I'm at the point now, like you were saying, it's, if we traded him, I don't think too many people would be upset. I think it would be like, okay, like it was fun while it lasted, but
I know at least a couple that would be very upset.
Really?
There are some people that are Bo truthers and think that if he
they're
were
red pill Bo's, Beauvillier fans.
I think they think that if he were on like Colorado and like a healthy Colorado team.
Interesting. The same team we traded Devon Taves to.
Yeah. But I think there are people that I think Bo would have like, I don't even think this. Somebody told me they thought Bo would have like 50 to 60 points on like a really good team. Buddy, like I don't know. He's got 16.
Yeah.
Like he's on pace for like 30 something.
I mean, it happens, right? Like, you know, players get in systems that just or, you know, whatever, that just work for them.
He
But
stinks.
I mean, like Nelson's a good example, right? I don't think he was ever as people ever looked at Nelson in a similar light as Bo, and Nelson plays a different kind of game. So it happens,
I
but
weirdly always liked Brock even before he was like good. I think I was at the game where he scored his first career goal in 2013.
Wow.
Oh my God. And I actually caught a puck
10 years ago.
Yeah. That's the only game where I've ever caught a puck.
Was it Brock's puck? I guess how would
no,
you know? It was just the plot. It was just the puck.
It was during warm up, so it's pretty hard to tell because they're all shooting. And actually, it was Karma. So I guess somebody shot one. It went into the crowd. It hit off my lap, and I was like, "Ow!" And I was sitting in like the first row, and there was a kid, and I gave it to a kid. And idiot. Then 5 minutes later, another puck landed in my lap.
Wow!
Proof
and
of God.
That kid stole it from you.
No, I got to keep it. It's still in my house somewhere.
And that kid is now a Beauvillier fan. So
probably.
Well, no, if that was 10 years ago and that kid was 10, then yeah, so he was not alive
Maybe
yet.
It was Beauvillier.
So, okay, so who would you say then is your hot, and who would you say is your not?
I have.
It's okay with the hot take.
I have filibustered as long as possible because, I mean, like, I guess I'll go Barzy for hot. He had a stretch recently where he scored like in 5 straight games. Point per game. Almost knocked over my water. Point per game. I think just looks like he's playing more. I think he's like engaged. Not to say he wasn't engaged with Trotz, but like he's Peacock and you got to let him fly. Captain.
Yeah.
That's another guy's reference. I know that peacocks don't fly.
Okay, cool. So yeah. But yeah. Okay, so who is your not player?
My not player is, you already know, Josh Bailey.
Okay, you got me. I wasn't sure.
I mean, I was gonna go Bo, but like Bo can skate on the ice. I'm not confident. I almost said I'm not confident, which is also true, but I'm not confident. My ice got stuck. I'm not confident in Josh Bailey's ability to like play NHL hockey anymore. And it's a shame. He's got like numbers that are like, up there with like Islander legends somehow, just through sheer being on the Islanders long enough.
Right. Yeah. I mean, was it last year he played his like?
I think it was this year.
It was like the first game of this year was his like 1,000th Islander career game.
Yeah. And look, I think when he's done, I'll be able to appreciate him more. But I'm just like, look, making too much money. There's a few guys on this team probably making too much money, mostly Bailey and Bo. Like, and can we just take their money and give it to Zach Parise?
Maybe. Wait a second. So you still think that Matt Barzal is the hot player for your pick, even though he shaved his head?
Yeah.
Oh wow, high praise.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah. And like he's got those dark features. I dig it. I've been told that I don't look like him. Somebody once went up.
One of the worst days of my life.
Don't look like Matt Barzal. Unprovoked. I don't
know if you're being serious or not.
I'm not.
Okay. Because for some reason I can imagine that happening to you.
I think I don't think I look like any Islander. I think for like 2 seconds when I was in high school, I had one person say I looked like John Tavares, and then I started talking like a robot to see if that checked out.
That's high praise.
I don't think I look like John Tavares.
Well, it would be an insult to say any Islander fan looked like him.
Yeah, I can't get over things.
Yeah, maybe if you were wearing your pajamas, you might see a slight resemblance.
Can I super quickly have a little corner to talk about John Tavares?
Of course.
Okay, so I recently had personal growth. When the Mets lost Jacob deGrom, it was a very like, it wasn't a carbon copy of the Tavares situation, but it was just as difficult for Met fans to deal with. And it made me more mature about the Tavares thing in retrospect because, DeGrom, the big thing with DeGrom was he didn't like the New York market. He wanted, he like, it sounds mean, but like it doesn't sound like he cared about winning anymore. And that's not like, who cares? He's his own person. You're an athlete. You have to be selfish because like we're fans. We love you, but we're not like looking out for your finances.
Yeah.
And we're not looking out for your family life. And we're not looking out for like where you want to live and where you want to pay taxes and stuff. And Jacob deGrom he did everything he could with the Mets to win a World Series. Didn't work out. And the team didn't want to bring him back because of like injury worries and stuff. So that's where it diverges from Tavares a little bit because the Islanders would have loved to have Tavares back. But it made me be like, hey, John Tavares, if he wanted to go home, he wanted to go home. Like, I don't want to have a player here that doesn't want to be here. I think it'll show,
Yeah.
And so I think I've had some like personal growth there. I think I also like it probably helped that like when he almost got paralyzed a couple of years ago, I was like, Jesus Christ, I hope he's all right. Like, I don't know. Everybody needs a little bit of time to like grow.
Yeah.
And I think I have on the John Tavares front, and I wish him well.
It's only been like how many years since that happened?
It's been like 5.
Yeah,
5 or 6. But yeah, I think it was just a little. Also, I have friends that like complained about the DeGrom thing, and I was like, "Hey, stop complaining." And then I was like, "Oh, but me."
yeah, they had to listen to you 5-6 years ago.
I don't know. No, I definitely had some growth there, and
it is interesting. It's interesting when you say they have to be selfish because I think, like, I think professional, sports in a lot of ways is very bloated industry and blah blah blah. Like, is it really like it's crazy to so much money is spent.
Yeah, we should be putting that money into the military. We don't give enough money.
yeah. Oh, we just got political. And just also probably alienated anybody that's like in the military. All of our uncountable amount of fans that listen to. I
can't believe I went woke.
Yeah, so
now I'm gonna go broke, even more so.
But it's interesting because I wouldn't be surprised if you asked Tavares at that moment, or when he was trying to make that decision, he probably would be like, "I don't want to betray the fans of Long Island," because they'll probably crash into me on the LA or whatever. But I
don't think he was some like maniacal like
no, not at all. That's what I mean. Is he was probably so hard for him to make that decision, and that at the end of the day, he made the decision that he probably would have made regardless, and it just took him so long to do it, and because he felt bad. If I would be surprised, that's a total guess. But
do I wish that he had made his mind up earlier in the season? Do I wish we could have gotten assets back? For sure. We really didn't miss out too much just through sheer luck of drafting Matt Barzal right after, and through Brock Nelson becoming God. My Brock star, my personal Brock star in life.
There can only be one. So
and I think I'm probably gonna have to head back soon because I'm in my house, but I need to check. We just got a kitten. My roommate got a kitten. I have to check.
That's different than the cat.
Yes.
So now you have 2 cats.
Yes, and the kitten's name is Jasper.
Oof.
I will get him onto one of these eventually. But right now he has to stay in a separate room from the other cat because it's still within the first week. They want to make sure if he's still sick,
kill each other.
Yeah, but So personal growth on the John Tavares front. Also, you know what I think played into that? Getting older, working for a living, and being like, you know what? Like, if I imagine you were working a job, and like you had like your coworkers were like, no, you can't leave. And you're like, no, like I don't know, like I've just played out my time here.
Yeah, I like working with you and everything, but you can't.
Well, we're gonna burn effigies to you. Like that would be extremely weird. I know it's different because it's sports, but I don't know. I guess I was like, listen, workers unite, John. I feel you. I see you. I hear you. I don't hate you.
I know I'm making the same amount of money over my entire life as you did in, like your rookie season. But yeah, so
yeah, he made a meager, 900K as a rookie.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough out there.
It is tough out there in these cold Canadian streets. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for tuning back in to, our catch-up podcast. Let us know.
And if you didn't tune in, I hate you. And it doesn't matter because you're not going to see it.
So yeah, let us know. Please leave us some feedback. Comment section, email us. I don't know if we have an email posted anywhere.
We do.
BelmontBunch@gmail.com. We have that email.
Don't do that.
So that's going to be our official Q&A email.
Do we have that?
We do actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I made it when we made the channel, just so we got it.
Can I do my Mike Staclasa real quick?
Yes.
Send an email to our website at I don't give a fuck